join me in welcoming Margo Talbot. I read your book, and we've planned together. We've known each other for a little while. We've had a number of chats in your car and everything else. But what I read in the book, I had a lot of it I had no idea about. And you know, there's a lot of stuff in there, some very heavy items, stuff that you've hidden for quite a while. But I wanted to ask, you know, what sort of inspired you? What motivated you to write about it now? What motivated you to sort of, you know, open up and share this whole story, your whole life story, with the world?
Well, believe me, I never thought I would tell my secrets to a number of people, let alone the whole world, in a book. I got to the point where I felt that my story had more power being sent out into the world than it did being taken to my grave. I had every intention of taking my secrets to the grave. And my secrets also began to be a burden. I was relieved for decades to have cleverly hidden my past from just about everybody. And at a certain point, it started to feel like a burden, carrying around all these secrets and, you know, wondering if people were ever going to find out. And I guess I'd have to say it was just me judging myself. It was personal judgment. At the time, I thought it was me fearing the world judging me, but I think it was more personal.
A lot of people would sort of perceive you as this, you know, sort of superwoman. You know, somebody who doesn't have any faults, somebody who's, you know, this rock star or ice star, and people would look up to you as almost like more of a role model for that. But how did that play a role in terms of, you know, you sharing your story now and sort of embracing everything?
We all have different challenges in life. Like Rob chose to do the 7 summits. Some people are blind. Some people, like, we all have different challenges, and it's easy to look at other people. Well, it was for me too, but it's easy for the women that come to Chicks to look at me and think I'm this, you know, superwoman climbing up frozen waterfalls, and it's easy for me to look at someone like Rob and think, oh, it must be easy to just travel around climbing mountains and not have to deal with depression. And it's easy to do that, but it underscored the fact to me that we've all got challenges. And I believe that all our challenges are kind of tailor-made for us. I wouldn't will my life on my worst enemy, but I wouldn't turn back the clock of time for an instant either, because I learned things from going through the experiences that I went through that I couldn't have learned any other way.
And so, I mean, most people, you know, when we get into climbing, we think about, you know, maybe starting to climb at the rock climbing gym, or you know, maybe starting with some intro mountaineering and stuff like that. But you kind of pole-vaulted right into ice climbing. You know, what was it about ice climbing that particularly drew you in, and that you sort of got hooked on it right away?
Well, the person who introduced me to ice climbing said to me, I know where you can put that intensity that you constantly live with. And I thought that was quite the statement to make when he first made it. But then he took me out ice climbing, and that was it. It was love at first swing, and all I wanted to do was climb ice as much as possible. I started ice climbing, wanted to just climb ice, got thrown in jail, got out, and I decided, or it took me 2 years to make the transition of letting go of drugs and drug dealing and my unhealthy lifestyle choices, and getting to the point where I was climbing full-time and making basically really healthy choices. Yeah, climbing felt like an addiction for me, albeit a healthy one. I was getting lots of fresh air, lots of sunshine, outside all the time, getting really strong, really fit. I looked really healthy, healthier than I'd ever looked in my lifetime. I realized around that time that I had more than just destructive power in me. I was making a lot of choices that were taking me in a downward spiral, and I started to realize through climbing, but other things were starting to happen at that point too, especially when I let go of the drugs. I started to realize that I had creative potential inside of me as well, and that was news to me. One of the key things about climbing, like people ask me all the time, well, you know, could it have been knitting or soccer or golf? Well, perhaps, for somebody it could, but one of the things about climbing was it brought me into the present moment. I was so focused and I was so centered and grounded, I didn't know I was capable of feeling happy without the use of a lot of substances. And here I was out climbing, and I thought, well, if this can happen out climbing, surely I can transpose this into other parts of my life, which I eventually did. But it was the first time in my life that I had felt present in the everyday world and not clouded and fogged over with emotions from the past.
And Antarctica played quite an important role for you. You know, you spent, I think, about a chapter or a couple chapters talking about it in the book. What was it about Antarctica that sort of changed you, or that, you know, sort of opened your eyes, you know, to other things?
Well, first off, I want to say that Antarctica is a desert. Not many people know that. It actually gets less than 2 inches of precipitation a year. When you see that footage or photos of Antarctica with all the snow blowing around, it's just snow being redistributed from one spot to the next. So there's something about deserts, the barrenness of them. When I was in Antarctica, I didn't know this was going to happen because I'd been in wilderness before, but not for months at a time. But there's no billboards or traffic or Starbucks lattes, and you're melting all the water that you use, whether it's for tea or having a sponge bath, which is about the only cleaning that you get down there. And it just really brought life down to its most basic. And it also allows for a lot of stuff to come out from inside of you. When you have your psychically busy culture coming at you, you just kind of, and that's not a bad thing, but it's like, do I want the iPod or do I want the iPhone 4? Yeah, you're making all these external decisions. In a place like Antarctica, you don't have those distractions. So I really got in touch with a part of me that I hadn't gotten in touch with before, like feelings and desires and thoughts of like, who am I? What do I want in life? And this has happened, as I say, it happened in the jail cell and it's happened at different times. But one of the things I realized when I was down there, which came as a surprise to me, was that relationships are the most important thing that you can be or do in life, and that the effect we have on others, the lasting effect that we have on others, is really our heritage and is really what we're all about. And this came as a surprise to me because I spent my life shying away from people and trying to keep myself safe from people and all the emotion and all the stuff that goes on. So it was quite the revelation, but I knew that it was true and real in that time, and I vowed that when I got out of Antarctica, I was going to make the changes and make relationships more of a priority. Years go on, I realized more and more how our point of power, I believe that our point of power is in choice. And I don't mean firecrackers in the air, darts descending from the heavens kind of choice. I mean the little choices we make every day, and there's thousands of them. And we can choose to be creators and we can choose to be destroyers. And just realizing that we all have that power. And in the end, and this ties back to realizing that relationships are so important, in the end, I want the sum total of my actions to have been positive by the time I leave this world. Or as not just positive, but as positive as I can possibly make them. That life never throws a problem at you that you can't solve with your own inner resources, and trust yourself in making decisions to get out of whatever predicament it is. And I would also say that when you move to make destructive choices, the world will move with you. But if you move to turn your life around, or if you move to turn your life in a positive direction, the world will move with you. So start making those steps, however small they are. And it's like buying a keychain when you want a car, when you want a new car. I totally believe in those little tiny changes and can turn around and always know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, even when you can't see it.
Cool.